Master of Ceremonies, Professor Maddox, Congressman Brady, Honorable Consul General of India, Shri Sanjeev Arora, elected officials, distinguished past presidents, fellow physicians, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor and privilege this evening to be installed as the 110th President of the Harris County Medical Society that leads the nation in the strength of its membership, that leads the nation in its pioneering work on medical legislative affairs, and that leads the nation in its excellence in engagement on socio-economic issues for its members year on year. It's indeed a crowning moment and an extraordinary feeling to celebrate the confidence given by you all to lead this society this year. It is also an extraordinary moment tonight because I'm celebrating another unique and historical distinction of being the first Asian and first Indian president of this great society. We have entered a tumultuous phase in the history of medicine in the United States. The tumult as we reckon, the epidemic of change as we face, the challenge as we surmount. There is a growing sense of uncertainty that has gripped our souls and hearts across all sections of the medical community. As custodians of healthcare, we have mastered the enviable art of caring, comforting, and curing our patients all our lives. This great skill set being born of our long and painstaking medical education, a grueling internship and resident training, and an emotional intellect of compassion and giving. This characteristic triumvirate of qualities has put this profession at the top of all professions, not only in this country, but in many nations of the world. And this characteristic triumvirate qualities has given the citizens of our country to vote us year on year as the best profession, a distinction that truly remains unparalleled and enviable. Fellow physicians, unfortunately, our landscape is changing at a remarkable speed that many of us realize. We have been asked today to change the canvas, to change the paint, and change the brush all at the same time, to paint a new landscape in the pursuit of practice of medicine in America. The train of healthcare economics has disdainfully singled out the bogey of doctors as the heavyweights and being traumatized from all directions to derail us. But those of us who understand healthcare economics realize that we only consume a small amount of the national health checkup. Then why this disdain? Why this constant friction? Why this constant wall that is erected between us and the patients continually in this country? The answer, perhaps, we'll never find. But we cannot remain on the sidelines and be silent. Neither we can bury our heads in the shifting sands of time like an ostrich. We need to act. Here comes the healthcare reform from the powers to be in Washington. A compendium of several thousands of pages, a tome that was beyond the capability of being deciphered by the best of the talent in this country, except for Dan Finch from the Texas Medical Association. Essentially, this tome summarizes, asking us and appealing to us, reduce the cost of care, improve the quality of care, and give an opportunity to every citizen to have health care. That perhaps is the summary of this entire publication. However, as we debate the opaqueness and clarity of the content of this reform, as we debate the methods of delivery of health care for the future, as we debate the empowerment of the stakeholders of healthcare delivery, the hospital versus the physicians versus the insurance industry, and as we debate the parity of dollars and cents for the stakeholders, and finally, as we debate who will be the providers for patient care, primary care versus specialty, small groups versus large groups, the 501As versus ACOs, and hospitalists versus others. let us seek direction in the winds of change and not fall by the wayside. As it said, the strong and the worthy always seek a direction, even in the worst winds of change in history. As our leaders of TMA have said aptly of the healthcare reform, let us keep what is not broken and fix what is. And that was very clearly highlighted this evening by our keynote speaker, Congressman Brady. My objectives this year are to involve our membership in a collaborative pursuit to understand health reform changes, facilitate necessary implementation, and prepare for the mandatory and statutory requirements for all of us. On this note, I passionately appeal to all stakeholders in our county to meaningfully deliberate the issues and not sacrifice anyone, particularly the doctors, at the altar of a personal agenda and exploit under the disguise of healthcare reform. As the largest medical center in the world, and as the largest county medical society in the world, and as a county and a city that is distinguished in several institutional departments across the world, with several firsts to our credit, both in the past and present, we can once again do pioneering work and come out with an example and prove to the nation, to the other countries, how we can emulate the future practice of medicine. Therefore, my objectives this year are threefold. I ask to build a collaborative framework of practice model for physicians in Harris County. And to achieve that, I emphasize the following tactics. Number one, I ask for a collaborative framework of practice of medicine, providing high-quality health care at a lower cost, a feat that is not only achievable, but will become an expectation with moving times. Today, the Virginia Mason Medical Center is named America's top hospital of the decade, simply on these standards. And we can certainly outshine this. Number two, major teaching institutions in the county to work with practicing physicians in the community and develop common ground rules of engagement and collaboration. Number three, all corporate hospitals in the county to work with a framework of ethical rules of engagement with the physicians. Number four, develop ethical and sensitive rules of engagement for the potential evolution of ACOs, the accountable care organizations that are coming up the pipe, and avoid demonizing tactics in disrupting the physician community. I therefore ask of you, ladies and gentlemen, is it difficult to engender a collaborative framework of practice of medicine in this county? To me, the answer is no. Is it necessary to emulate only the Mayo Clinic model or the Geisinger model in this county for the future practice of medicine? To me, the answer is no. Is it necessary to stifle the freedom of the independent practitioner and the small groups by circumventing the corporate law of medicine in Texas, a clever construct of legal entities? To me, the answer is no. And finally, should academic institutions work in isolation without bridging the community, physicians? To me, the answer is no. Fellow physicians, the time could not have been more opportune than now in the history of our nation and our county to take this leadership in providing a collaborative framework of practice of medicine and develop a model for the 11,000 physicians in this county, so that others can again take this as an example, as we have done so many times in the past. I feel strongly there's nothing utopian about this. There is nothing dreamlike about this, and there's nothing impossible. As long as we can talk, we can engage, and we can bury our egos. Let us therefore come to the table and rewrite the rules of this engagement for a new landscape, on a new canvas, with a new paint and a new brush. My second objective this year is to provide the members with education and information to assist in the evaluation, implementation, and utilization of electronic health record system, as Dr. Gilmer has alluded to. I can vouch for the benefits of the electronic health record system. We were one of the first practices in the state of Texas in the year 2000 to completely transform our clinical and official operations into a paperless system. And I can vouch the benefits of that. My fellow group physicians we all realize the significant benefits which are incredible. And we also redeem the capital at a very short notice. So there's no excuse for those of you who are sitting on the bench, who are sitting on the fence at this point in time, who are hesitant, who are fearful to implement an electronic health, been incessantly working for the past 6 months and has provided many suggestions and many options for those physicians who have not yet implemented the EHR. My third and last objective is to continue to perfect the liability reform in Texas. We cannot give this up. It was earned very painfully, as Congressman Brady has alluded to the fact, at a time when our physicians were living by the clouds. We have 26,000 new physicians who enter the state of Texas by a medical liability reform. So we have to constantly watch and make sure we preserve what we worked for. Physicians and Texas board relationships should undergo further refinement in all aspects, and that will be one of our key goals. And the County Medical Society has already engaged continually with the Texas Medical Board with regards to avoiding adversarial relationships with physicians. My final reflection: every industry in America, every Fortune 500 company in this country is embracing the globalized world, is embracing the globalized theme, and they are churning also huge profits. I believe the healthcare industry will soon explore this frontier to be competitive, profitable, and identify new resources, particularly on the front of medical education, training, and technology. In conclusion, I would like to quote what my office manager constantly reminds me of, this famous quote from Frank Lloyd Wright. "I know the price of success, dedication, hard work, and an unremitting devotion to the things you want to see happen." I thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to lead the society, and look forward to representing you all on several of the issues. At this point in time, I'd like to acknowledge some people here in the audience. First of all, I'm going to begin with my mentors, Professor David Graham and his wife, Janet Butel, who's here today. Dr. Graham, I'd like to stand for a moment, who's at that table. Dr. Graham is the immediate past chair of Department of Gastroenterology at Baylor College of Medicine, and he's a person who was instrumental in laying the foundation for me to be a good physician in the specialty of GI and hepatology. I'd like to recognize Dr. John Stroline, Professor Stroline, who is the deputy head of the MD Anderson Hospital. Dr. Stroline, you taught me the bedside manners, and you helped me to work on effective patient communication. I owe that to you. Thank you so much for being here. I'd like to recognize Dr. Norman Sussman and his wife Daphne Sussman. Norman trained me in hepatology and in transplant medicine. He's here this evening. And I'd like to, least but not the least but not the last. Sorry about that. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Ken Maddox, who is also one of my mentors, who constantly brainstormed and challenged. And it was always a tough task to get through his meetings and his presentations. But thank you for that. I would not have been a better person without that grueling task that we had. I'd like to thank all my special friends who are here this evening to give me this great support, and my office staff who's here tonight. I'll just ask them to please rise for a moment. All my colleagues and office, my partners. Thank you all very much for keeping me straight and constantly juggling my schedule and helping me out. And appreciate all that you have done over the years. And